All right, welcome to the Stronger Together podcast, brought to you by Sandpoint Strength and Conditioning. I'm your coach, Kenny Markwart, and I am here with Brandon Casey. Brandon started at the gym a long time ago. We're going to hear his story just a little bit, but some accolades from him, which I'm going to go over for him. He was two-time first-team All-Conference, FCS second-team All-American, the AP All-American Honorable Mention, the three-time academic All-Big Sky Honors. He just finished up playing for the Montana Grizzlies, and he's now getting ready for Pro Day for the NFL. So I'm super excited to do this conversation because, like I said, Brandon started the gym, like 10 years ago?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Long time ago. So I've had a very, very, very minute part in his career, but in my opinion, he's kind of that 1%. Like he is, like not a lot of people do what you're doing. A lot of parents and kids want to be able to do what you're doing, but to try and just have this conversation, like you're like kind of an anomaly. So it's a unique opportunity to have this chat with you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So yeah, do you remember like any of your journey at the gym, which was I think you were 12?
Yeah, so I was thinking about it. I think I started when I was probably in fourth or fifth, maybe even sixth grade.
Got it.
Which would have been, I don't know, 10 or 11, 12 years ago actually.
Yeah, crazy. Just in the beginning, like we just started.
And I was kind of at that point where like everything your dad does is like cool and you kind of want to do it too. And my dad started going to the CrossFit gym.
Yep.
And one summer, I think I went on summer break. And I was like, well, I want to start going too, but I was young.
Yeah.
And so I think I went for a summer, and I don't even know if I lifted like weights, if I just did the exercises, just body weight. But then you guys started the teens class,
Yep.
which was shortly after. It must have been when the school year started.
Yeah.
And I started doing that, and that's really where I learned to lift.
Yeah. No, I do actually remember that. Because I had a relationship with your dad. Like he's been there since the day in the beginning. So that I think I was paying more attention to you anyways, but like you always move really well. And like that stuff stands out to me for some reason. Like I just remember how people move. And you're always a good mover. And that kind of, that was rare for a kid of your age. But yeah. And then from talking to your dad, I don't know if I've heard this from you or not, but the feedback you got at high school, like was like, wow, like, you know what you're doing. So that's,
yeah. And even through college, like, yeah. Learning how to lift properly and kind of gaining more mobility, especially mobility under tension, like that was something that like a lot of people were impressed with.
Yeah.
Because especially when you get to college, like you get the athletes who are just freak athletes, but they haven't spent much time in the gym.
Yeah.
And when you watch them kind of like have to learn how to learn how to live,
yeah,
it is difficult for them. Like once you kind of create those bad habits, it's tough to train your body and get the mobility to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And so I was always just really thankful for, like, I started fresh and I started right.
Yeah.
I just started with good habits and I learned what's important, what's not important, and it helped me. It helped me tremendously. Like I don't think I'd be in the same position I am if I didn't.
That's awesome. That's a good way to put it, though. The mobility or the tension or mobility. Mm-hmm. I've never heard that. I don't think, but that's a great way to phrase it. Because of the control through that range of motion, like it just provides you the strength through all of it, right? Like the control, like the tempo or, whatever it is. And I think you see, like what makes me freaking panic sometimes is I see stuff on Instagram or whatever, like high level athletes not lifting very well. Like they're doing a lot, people can do a lot of weight, but it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And that's different. Like again, because the control through that range, I think provides for so much extra resilience.
Yeah, and on the field you need that too.
Totally.
Because the angles you'll be in way different than anything you see.
Yeah.
In the weight room, in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
On the field, you kind of need your joints and everything else to be mobile.
Yes.
Or else you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I imagine like just overall well-rounded strength in different positions, but also the resilience to prevent injury, like by having the body awareness and the joint strength and the range of motion strength to be in compromised positions, but not only survive, but to thrive in that weird stuff. I imagine that sets you apart.
Yeah, and like I played football for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've never had surgery. I've never had a severe injury. And it's 100% because of mobility and strength.
That's awesome. Knock on wood, man. That's
I know. Shouldn't have said that.
but that's pretty. I mean, is that like I would imagine that's remarkable? But having been through that journey, like
Yeah.
how unique of a situation is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hear so many just horror stories of guys who blow their knees out,
Yeah,
hurt their backs, and they're never the same again.
yeah,
Um, and so it's important. Like it's really important to stay mobile and to stay strong.
yeah,
Like you have to constantly be trying to get stronger. In my opinion.
yeah. On the range of motion, what have you done? Like, what's your protocol for that, or do you have one?
I mean, my protocol is just like to hit all the movements correctly,
Yep.
depth wise, as far as squatting, front squatting, um, and then clean form, snatch form. Like that's really important.
Yeah,
Because there's guys who just can never learn it,
yeah,
and it's important that you learn that stuff from a young age, just because it can go bad real quickly, and you can hurt yourself.
yeah. Totally.
Uh, but that's really what I've done. It's really just the thing that I get the most from is just like I said, like being able to have a full squat under load, or like being able to get in a full squat power cleaning, like that kind of stuff does the most for me, rather than just stretching, I would say.
That's kind of what I was hoping to say.
Yeah.
Again, from a selfish perspective, I think stretching's a little bit overrated. I think there's a place for it, but I think that like a weird analogy, like people always want to do yoga to get range of motion or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it kind of puts you in weird ranges of motion that aren't necessarily natural. Or like if we're going to be in the gym, we're going to squat and we're going to bend,
Yeah.
and we're going to push and we're going to pull. To express those full ranges of motion are like your natural. Like that's the range of motion you should be focusing on. Not, I'm not saying yoga is bad or anything, but like to do some of those positions, it's just not normal life. But like yours, for what I'm hearing from you, is just making sure that you're training through a full range of motion and then adding load. You like it sounded like you from your early onset were working on the range of motion, and then we're able to add load through that range of motion, which is kind of like I don't like to think of it like barbell yoga,
Yeah.
but then adding a lot of resistance too.
Yeah, I mean, I think back when we were starting, Dan was the coach at the time. He was the one who really taught us all. I think we started on PVC pipes, and then went to a women's barbell, and then we went to a men's barbell, and then we slowly started adding weight. Like it was a progression. I remember it being a long time before we actually started really putting weight on the body.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's still the case with Nick running the program. It's still like tons of kettlebells and PVC pipes and body weight stuff.
Yeah,
But making sure that kids can do that properly, and then adding load as it goes along.
yeah. And the other thing, like, there's the stretching part, and then there's also kind of what's big right now in athletics is recovery.
Mm.
And I think that kind of needs to go in my proportion too. Like, there's a lot of stuff where, like,
Yeah, same.
like I know a lot of guys I play with who spend a lot of time in the recovery room, but would stay up till midnight playing video games and then lift it
Yeah.
30 or 6. That's like,
Huh.
I don't know how much of that stuff's actually helping out there.
Well, like what do they do? What's the emphasis on what they're doing in there?
Oh, like they would go like cold tub,
Yeah.
hot tub, sauna. They'd spend hours in the Normatec boots. I'm like, I don't know. And to me, the most important recovery is sleep.
Yeah.
Like you have to
Same.
sleep and you have to drink enough water.
Yeah.
And like there's like I think the cold tub helps, and I think saunas probably help. But I think a lot of that stuff gets a little bit overhyped.
Yeah. It's the top of the pyramid. If like your foundation's built on range of motion, strength work, proper sleep, proper nutrition, like don't buy. Like it drives me nuts when people start with the other. I'm gonna cold plunge. Like when's the last time you've worked out? Like maybe you should start there.
Yeah.
Or like you said, they're not sleeping or they're not eating right. Like that stuff needs to be at the bottom. And then if you want to cold plunge and sauna and Normatec boot or whatever else it is, like that's great. But start with the foundation first. Yeah, that's cool to hear. Again, maybe it's just echoing. Maybe it's just my echo chamber, but it's good to reinforce like some of the things I'm thinking. So again, you're at a higher level than most people I'm talking to, so that's good to hear. What like so again, like youth athletics is it's just strange environment sometimes. Like I think there's a lot of either pressure or emphasis or whatever from parents and coaches. And I feel like sometimes kids are either dragged into it or burn out, and maybe burn out as a result of that. They're playing year round. Like, what's your That's a big question, but like, what's your take on that stuff?
I mean, my biggest take with youth athletics is kids have to play multiple sports.
Yeah,
Like you can't you can't specialize in one because, like you said, it leads to burnout.
Yeah.
It leads to injury, even. Like,
Yeah.
it leads to just the kids not having fun anymore.
Yep.
And they're never going to make it if they're not having fun with it. Um, I mean, I would like, and especially in the Sandpoint community, we're lucky because we live in an area where we can still do that.
Yeah.
Like the bigger high school programs, like the guys I played with in college, like they came from these huge high schools, and it really wasn't an option. Like here, it's an option. Like you can still play football, you can play basketball, you can ski on the weekends. Like there's so much different stuff that you can do in athletics. You can play baseball, like you can do track. Like there's so much different things that you can do that are fun and
Yeah.
it's important. And not only are they fun, but it teaches you like how to be part of a team in different sports, right?
Yep.
Like it builds mental toughness, it builds physical toughness in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think that's important just to become a well-rounded athlete. Like just the skills you'll learn in multiple different sports probably beats the one skill you're focusing on if you're only playing soccer, if you're only playing football.
Yeah. How does that? So I was watching the SMU Penn State game, which by the time this happened, it was a total blowout. I think most people were probably turning it off. But the commentators were mentioning how in a recruitment scenario, a coach is going to, if there's 10 kids and 9 of them, or let's say, so 7 of them all played only football and 3 of them played multiple sports, they're gonna pick the 3 kids that played multiple sports. I don't know how true that is. It was just an interesting tidbit I picked up. And again, I've been led to believe, like, has that been your experience as well? Did they look at that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean I don't going off the top of my head I don't know one guy I played with in college that just played football.
Really?
Honestly, I could think of anyone. Like there was a lot of like on the O line there was a lot of football, track and field, a couple basketball, a lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like my right guard that I played, we started like 35 games together. He was a 2-time state champ in wrestling.
Wow.
So I mean, it goes to show that it's important. You have to
Yeah.
you have to play different sports. You kind of have to learn how to be part of a team. That's half of it too.
Yeah.
Learning how to do your job to the best of your ability in order for your team to win.
Yeah. Adapt and be again part of that the bigger thing. That's awesome. What were the multiple disciplines you did play?
So I played football and basketball all the way through. I started playing football and basketball in middle school.
Okay.
Before that, I actually played soccer, sadly. And I think I played that year round, or I might have played baseball too. I don't remember. But then I played baseball through middle school in the spring.
Yep.
So I played football, basketball, and baseball, and then my first year high school I did the same. Then my second year in the spring I did lacrosse, and then my junior and senior year I did track and as well as football and basketball through high school.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I kind of always enjoyed sports, like just even like the week off, the 2 weeks in between you had between the sports. I was always like, go home, you get so bored. My mom was probably like, I'm so ready for the next one to start.
Yeah, we feel that way already with yours. Someone's like, okay, I think it's time for you to go do something now with your friends.
Absolutely.
Play. So, yeah, that's cool. And you kept skiing through high school and stuff too, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm still skiing. I think that it's kind of important to like work hard and play hard. And skiing and riding my motorcycle are like the two things that I'm kind of like that I kind of let play. Like recharge the batteries a little bit, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like on the same vein, like I think people start to pull out of those sports because they feel like I'm going to get hurt or I'm going to like this is the priority. This is what we want you to play in college or wherever their expectations or hopes lie. And so they start to recede from these other things that might be more fun or might be more exposure to different things. And skiing is one of those ones I hear quite frequently. Like, I don't want to mess up my knees skiing and then ruin my career that was probably never going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing for me is like you work really hard.
Yeah.
You grind for 4 or 5 months at a time.
Yeah.
It's important for me like to just go out and have fun once in a while. Like where there's no competition. Like I can go ski with my dad. We can have a great time.
Yeah.
It just recharges the batteries a little bit.
Yeah.
Gets you ready to go back.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Again, that's great to hear, and I think it's going to be good for people to hear as well. You've always been pretty driven from my perspective. Like, again, we haven't stayed super close over the years necessarily, but I hear about it from your dad, and we have stayed in touch a little bit. So, and actually, when working together, so you and I did.
Yeah,
what was that?
I was going to say, you helped me gain weight for like probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. But I mean, that's so funny because you're such an anomaly. And again, from you probably don't know this because you're living in yourself, but like you were so easy to work with. I was like, go do this, and you just went and did it. Like that's not normal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like psychology and there's some like habit structure that you usually have to work on with people. But you were the kind of person that was like, okay, go do this. And you're just like, okay, I did it. I was like, okie dokie. And you'd hop on the InBody game. What did you put on that? There was a summer that we worked
We'd
together.
have to go. So I remember the summer after my senior year going into college.
Yeah.
I think is when we worked the most together as far as the
Yep.
nutrition side of things.
Yep.
And it was like right in the middle of COVID, like when
Yeah.
that started.
Yep.
And I want to say I put on maybe 15 pounds.
Well, I think it was more than that. We'd have to look. Yeah, I should have pulled that out.
So I went to, so my senior year of basketball, I finished at 240.
Yeah.
I played basketball at 240 that year. And then when I went to Montana in August, I was 270. So, I mean, that was like give or take 6 months.
Yeah. That's what it takes. I mean, if you follow the plan.
And it was
That's
good
what
weight.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
It wasn't,
That's a good point.
like I was eating a lot of meat and a lot of, like I wasn't eating McDonald's and stuff like that. Like you'd set up a meal plan and I just kind of ate it.
Yeah.
My parents paid for it. Which I miss now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now that I'm cooking for myself, I'm like, wow, this sounds expensive.
Man. Sorry, Dad. Yeah. I remembered it more. I thought you came in at like 220.
No, I mean, my start of high school, yeah. Like, I think my sophomore year of high school, I was like 6'4", 160 or 170. Like, I was a skeleton.
Yeah, yep.
And then I kind of started, my growth spurt kind of ended and I started to grow wider instead of taller, which helped me out a lot.
Yeah. But you did, like you said, you put on clean weight. That blew me away. Because usually if somebody gains that much weight, like it's hard to keep it in a proportion that isn't,
Sure.
More fat than you put on. Like you stayed super lean. Like that was pretty impressive to be a part of and watch. Like I said, I should have pulled that up before we started this because I think it was pretty significant.
Yeah, it would be interesting for me to step on it now.
Yeah.
See where I've gone in 5 years since I've left.
Yeah, because what are you now?
I'm 305.
Yeah. Do you know what your composition is? Yeah.
I mean, I have all my pictures. Like, we used to do body comp pictures, and I could get all those just to kind of see, because we do them like yearly or every semester maybe.
Yeah.
With the strength, like just our strength coaches and stuff, and it'd be interesting to get those and to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
What those look like.
Yeah, totally. I'll pull that up and I'll put it in the notes or something just because I'll text you when I pull it up too. And then maybe we'll have you jump on it again just to see. But the discipline and the drive, like that, you've always had that. Like, was that, do you know where that came from, or was that?
I don't know. I mean, I think that a little bit of it was, it's just internal, and I think that, like growing up, like my parents both worked really hard.
Yeah.
My dad started his own business. I mean, you know what that's like.
Yep.
He works really hard, and I think just seeing that my mom works really hard. She's always worked full time ever since I was born, and I just think seeing that really helped me. Like, understand that it's important, that having a good work ethic is important.
Yeah.
It can take you places, and seeing it firsthand was definitely something that motivated me. Just like I said, when I was younger, I just kind of wanted to be like my dad. I was like, he's like a cool dude. Like he rides motorcycles. I want to ride motorcycles. Like he skis on the weekends. I'll ski on the weekends. So I think like a lot of it was instilled in my parents. Yeah. And then when I got into sports, like you really kind of start to see that the harder I work, the better I get. Yep. The easier the games are. Yeah. The more fun they are. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I've always enjoyed working. Like as far whether it was making money, like I used to mow lawns and do all that stuff, and I always enjoyed that. And then I enjoyed lifting. Yeah. Like I really do enjoy working out. Yeah. So I think a little bit of it too is brings me some enjoyment. So it's not so much of a chore. Yeah, sure, totally. And finding the things you like, I think that's where there's work that you don't like, and then there's work that you do like, and I think it's really easy. I find the same. I'm really rewarded by working on things I like. There's some things I hate that it takes a lot more effort to put the effort in. But yeah, if you find the thing you like and just channel your energy into it, it's really rewarding and not that hard to do. Overall, was there pressure from your parents at all, to do any of this stuff? No.
No.
I mean, you know my dad, he's pretty chill.
Yeah, super.
Like,
Yeah.
and I think that also helps a lot. Like, I mean, it's important for the parents to somewhat stay out of it because when you get to college, like your parents have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, either if your parents will see your coach in the recruiting process and they'll talk to him, and after that, they probably don't know talk to him.
Yeah.
Like, and then they might say hi to him after game or something. But
Yeah.
if your parent called one of the college coaches, I would love to hear that conversation.
My son's not playing enough. What's going on?
I'd love to hear that conversation. It's because college is different. Like they really don't really care who you are because like they're paying their mortgage based on the best players on the field.
Yeah.
Like they don't care where you came from, who you are.
Yeah.
You know how big of a school you came from.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who your parents are either.
Right. Yeah.
And like looking back on high school and middle school, even elementary school, like all the guys who, their parents were on them all the time. Like they had long car rides home.
Yep.
You could just kind of see the fun taken out of the sport.
Yeah.
It just turns to kind of unmotivation, honestly, where it's not fun anymore.
Yep.
They have a lot of pressure put on themselves.
Yep.
And if sports aren't fun, it's not really worth it.
Totally.
It's not really worth putting on all the work, going to practice every day.
Yep.
I mean, practice sucks. I hate it, but like the winning and playing the game is worth it.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it if your parents put a lot of pressure on you and are constantly on your head about things.
Yeah.
But in the same boat, I mean, I think that like my parents were pretty strict with me when when I was younger, and I think that's important too. Like it was always to them it was always important that I gave my best effort.
Yeah.
Like if I was out there loafing, like I could hear my mom on the sideline screaming at me.
But it's different. It's the effort. It's not the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that and the other thing too is like when you have a bad game, like when you didn't play well, like your kid knows. Like he knows while he's playing. Like wow, like this is not a good game for me. Like I'm just dragging.
Yeah.
Like the last thing that they need is to just get ridiculed in the car.
Yeah.
But there is some moments where it needs to happen. Like if he's not giving good effort, like
yeah, but that's great because again, Garrison's 10, and we've watched him play in soccer and other sports, and you hear different things from different parents where it's like you said, a ridicule is a good way to put it, like where they make a mistake and they get ridiculed for it, which is way different than an effort put forth, right? Like if it's a snap judgment thing, like what are you going to do? You made the decision. It was 90 miles an hour, and you're just kind of doing reaction stuff. But if you're not putting in the effort, like that's a different conversation.
Sure, and I mean you have to make mistakes in order to learn.
Right. And if you're afraid of making mistakes, I think that's when people hesitate. Like,
absolutely, and they talk a lot about that in college. Like if you're afraid of making mistakes, you're never going to make it.
Interesting.
Because it's hard to get better if you never make mistakes.
Yeah.
There's never something to learn from. It's hard to really, increase your ability.
Yeah, and that resilience of knowing that that's okay. It's a life skill, but in the context of high level sports, like you're gonna go in as a freshman or redshirt, and you're gonna get your ass kicked, and you're gonna and if you can't handle that, and if you've been led to believe that you can't make mistakes, like I imagine that's got to shatter your mental confidence.
Yeah, your confidence tanks for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important too, like there's a lot of coaches that can do the same thing.
Yeah.
That can really take your confidence away. And once that's gone, it's really hard to do that.
At all levels? Do you see that?
At all levels, even in college you see it. Like there's guys just going to like college sports in general kind of humbles you a little bit.
I bet.
You go from kind of being like one of the better players on the team.
Yep.
You can kind of get away with a lot just because you're like bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah.
You go to college and you really get humbled. And for like, there's guys who can work, and guys who can accept it are fine. So they just work, and 3 years later they're just as good as they were.
Yeah. On
their high school team. But like the guys who like don't have a great work ethic and they have pretty big egos, they come in and they really it really shatters them.
I bet.
Like it's a wake up call. They either end up quitting.
Yeah.
Or it takes them a long time and they finally get it together and they can push through.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for those kind of guys.
To weed them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But 3 years is a long time. I mean, that's a handful of seasons of getting your ass kicked.
I always tell guys too who are like talking about like when they're going to college, I'm like, if you can make it through your first year if you can make it through your first year and a half, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because your freshman year is your hardest, and then after that it gets easier.
Yeah.
After that, you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can kind of see where you line up in the depth chart.
Yeah.
And you kind of have some motivation then.
Yeah.
So your freshman year, I mean, you're the first one's lifted.
Yeah.
They work you hard. Then you're going out to practice and you're on scout team.
Yeah.
You're just getting beat up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's hard. You're like, oh, this is not very much fun.
Yeah. And if you're playing at that level, you went from the hero, you were the star, and now you're at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
Like again, that's a hard shift.
Mm-hmm.
And again, to realize that you got a couple years in front of you to where you might have a chance to do that again. And you probably don't understand that at that level. Like when you get started again, you probably just feel like you're going to suck forever and you're not cut out for it.
Yeah. It's just a lot of just waking up and doing it again. And like you're away from home, you're living in a dorm. Like you kind of like at least for me, I grew up with Sandpoint my whole life.
Yeah.
So like the guys that I grew up with were the same guys I graduated with.
Yeah.
And so like to go and make new friends, like that wasn't something that I was like really used to.
Sure.
So, like I'd never really moved around. And so I think like just kind of finding where you fit in the group.
Yeah.
Who you hang out with. It takes a long time too. Like I think like our class, like after winter conditioning, which is in February, it's a whole month of February. After that is when our class really like came together. Like you kind of have to do hard things together before you can really, I guess, form that unit, form that team.
Yeah.
And I mean, ever since then, it's been a blast. Like,
yeah. That's cool.
That's the funnest thing we've done.
That's so cool. I want to go backwards for a second. I want to go forwards on that. But like you mentioned the parents overbearing in the younger stages, but then when they get to college, like how much of that relying on the parental discipline screws people up. Like you go to college, I remember this, like I was like, I don't have anybody tell me when to go to bed. I don't have anybody tell me what to eat. I don't have anybody telling me when to do my homework. Mm-hmm. I wasn't playing the sport, but I imagined that at that level, like when they get set free after having the constant parental reminders and dragging them to practice or dragging them to do the things they want to do, or not, they might not want to do, but they have to do. Do you see a lot of kids wash out because they just don't have the internal discipline?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that more so it comes from a fact that they just don't really have anyone to like, I guess, talk to or reassure them about things.
Yeah.
Like I think that a lot of kids, they come to college sports and they're like, man, this isn't like I thought it was going to be. Like this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I don't want to call my dad because he's just going to tell me that,
yeah,
I got to work harder and all this stuff. And I think it's important to have like a good relationship with your kid because when they call you, I mean, in their freshman year of college, like they're going through it.
Sure. Like
they just really need someone to talk to, someone to reassure them that everything's going to be all right. And I think that that's important.
Yeah. And you had a weird freshman year because you went in during COVID. You guys didn't really have a season.
No. So my first year, we didn't play at all, but we practiced that fall. I think we had basically how I remember it is we basically had 6 weeks of spring ball in the fall. And then we turned around, and after Thanksgiving, we were gone until after Christmas.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want people flying back in and out.
Yeah.
And so then we started back up in January, did winter conditioning, did another 6 weeks of spring ball, and then played 2 games. And so, honestly, I think my freshman year kind of helped me because, I could develop more.
Sure.
Just because, a spring ball practice is different than, a in-season practice. There wasn't necessarily scout teams. The rookies, we had, the rookies were going to the rookies.
Yeah.
I actually got a lot of reps. Probably a lot more than... I actually got a lot of live reps, I should say. Probably a lot more than the guys do in-season just because I'm on a scout team.
Got it.
Which are good reps, but... I mean, you're pretty much getting your ass kicked.
Yeah. Just getting dug in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. That's good. I mean, I think it's good to know for people. So now going forward, you're getting ready for pro day, combine stuff. Tell me what that's like.
Yeah. So I'm playing in a senior bowl in January in Texas, and then I'm going to Minnesota for 8 weeks, and I'm going to train for pro day, and then I'm going to do pro day in Montana, and I'm going to hopefully get an opportunity from there.
Cool.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
That's not your only plan, though. And I say that because, I think you're hyper focused on it. But the other side of that is the grades. You've done well at school.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That's not your...
I'll have my master's in May.
Wow,
I have 6 credits left, and they're all online, so I should be smooth sailing.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's cool. Business.
yeah, business administration. I'll get my MBA, and then I graduated my undergrad. It would have been last December in business management and entrepreneurship.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think again the point there is I don't find that this is so much. Maybe you have a different perspective, but kids rely on athletics. Like this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. I tell my parents all the time, like, if I didn't have athletics, 'cause I'm a guy who needs structure.
Yeah.
Like if I just have a bunch of time on my hands, like I get nothing done. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know that. Yeah.
And so if I wasn't playing college football too, like my grades would not have been as good.
Interesting.
Like there would have been a lot more party, and there would have been a lot more having fun than there was like actually getting my work done. But
Yeah.
I think with a good structure, I kind of thrive in it
Yeah.
because it holds me accountable to get my stuff done.
Yeah.
And I mean, I kind of enjoyed some parts of college, like as far as the schooling went. I kind of got to like business was something I was interested in, like entrepreneurship or something else I was like always interested.
Yep.
And a lot of like those classes I took were that really
Yeah.
like starting businesses, all that stuff. It was like I really enjoyed it.
That's
some
cool.
of it. But like the accounting class, all that stuff,
the
all the hard stuff that you actually need to know. I was like,
the creative side, the entrepreneur side, and then the
yeah,
hard math side. Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, similar question to before, but like the discipline of doing that, do you see a correlation? Like, were there kids that were just like, I'm just doing sports and I'm going to
Oh yeah,
take my status and sprint around and get whatever degree because it doesn't matter?
yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of them would do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't say like they screw around. Like even if you get a degree that people think is, somewhat kind of a joke, like it's you still put the work in.
Sure.
It's still 4 years of work.
Yeah.
And I also don't really think it matters necessarily what your degree in is for some things. I'm
Yeah.
sure being a lawyer, sure being a doctor, but I mean, I think it's important just to show that you can start something and finish it.
Yeah.
As far as having a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's absolutely guys that go in there and like give me the easiest degree, as many online classes I can get.
Yep.
And make sure there's a bunch of people I know in the classes.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that translates? Because I imagine you do a lot of film, you do a lot of outside, off the field stuff. Were those same? That's just probably not a super universal. It's probably not a big universal answer to this, but were those people that wanted to half-ass it in school? Like, did they seem to want to half-ass in the film room? Or is that not fair to make that judgment?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's certain guys that but I don't know. There's also guys that school just wasn't really their thing.
Yeah, sure.
Like it's just how it goes. Like they love football and they spend a lot of time. Like actually, one of the best offensive linemen I ever played with in Montana. He was a stud on the field, and he's probably watched more film. And as far as the X's and O's of the game, like he was knowledgeable. He was the most probably knowledgeable guy I've ever been around.
Yeah.
When it came to just football talk.
Yeah.
And he hated school. Like I didn't see the guy do much school.
Yeah, I got it.
But yeah, I mean, it just kind of there's some guys that really like it, some guys that don't.
Yeah, just gotta, like you said before, finding the work that you enjoy, and then if it's easy to do it. Got it. So for the preparation for the next step, what does that look like for pro day and stuff?
So I'll go train for 8 weeks, and that'll be training for like the 40-yard dash, the bench test, vertical, a couple on-field drills, things like that, broad jump, and then some position-specific work that I'll be training for. And then I'll do 8 weeks there. I'll come back, and I'll have a few weeks to really just train hard, and then give it my best go. And the first week of April.
Cool. And when do you find out what your opportunities are after that?
Pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah, like right around the draft time.
Got it. And then you have an agent that does your communication stuff for you and presents you with what's out there.
Yep.
Cool. And then what would that look like? I mean, again, it's hard to say, but what is the?
So my goal would be, what I'm looking at right now. My goal is to be a priority for agent, which is just right after the draft ends and the priority free agents get picked up.
Got it.
And that's my goal.
Cool. And then what does that mean? Like,
Then I would have to go to rookie mini camp after that, and kind of earn my spot.
Yeah.
But and then so you go to rookie mini camp. It's basically a big tryout, and then if you're invited to the fall, that's a great thing. And then you chase that opportunity, and then from there it gets cut down to a 53-man roster.
Cool.
And your goal is to either make a practice squad or a 53-man roster.
Cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's kind of one of those things that I knew, like, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
And might as well do it now because I got the rest of my life to work.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I think that experiences that you talked about too, like knowing that it might be a rough couple of years of just kind of starting over.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's the expectation for you? Like that it's just going to be a couple of years of putting your head down and doing the work? And
Oh yeah, I think that no matter what happens in my future, I'll still have to work pretty hard.
yeah,
Whether it's a football or business.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't see any hesitation for you there.
No.
You kind of have that archetype of just put your head down and do the thing and channel it into something you enjoy. So yeah, that's cool. I'm excited for that future for you, man. That's just cool. Like I said, you're such an anomaly in the realm of sports. Like it just doesn't happen.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that I've been surrounded by a lot of great guys, a lot of great coaches. As far as not only my parents, but like in sports, like basketball, football, even all the other sports I played. Like I've had some incredible coaches. Lifting.
Yeah.
I think you guys have been a big part of it, and I think that kind of instilled a lot of the values that I have now.
Yeah. What makes a great coach?
Someone who pushes you, challenges you,
Yeah.
wants you to compete, and then on the other side, they can correct you. They can kind of they can bring you up when you need to be brought up, but they push you hard.
What's good pushing versus bad pushing?
I mean, I think everyone needs to get pushed back, to kind of realize like what's good pushing.
Yeah.
But I think that just a strict coach that doesn't really put up with any of the BS from anyone, whether it's parents, whether it's players, and that holds everyone accountable.
Yeah.
There's no favoritism.
Yeah.
It's all everyone's expected to do the same things, to push themselves as hard as they can.
Yeah.
And it's important that the coaches get like the most out of you from a physical and mental standpoint, just because that's how you build mental toughness is by doing hard things.
Yeah. How does that play into like we're talking about the correcting and versus encouraging versus like and I'm sure that, again this at different ages this looks differently. But do you get a feel on like how people can do that well? You know what I mean? Like I've had coaches that just freaking scream at you all the time.
Oh yeah.
Over and over and over and over and over.
And that's like I've had that too. Like I've had coaches in college or not college, in high school too, where like it's just always on me.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. But it's important, like if you're a coach and you teach them something and they do it correctly, you have to praise them for it. Like you have to give them encouragement. And you have like in order because that builds good habits.
Yes.
And it's important that when you teach something and it happens and it's right, you make sure that it's recognized.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the most important.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And then the other thing too is like you can't let some guys get away with stuff that other guys can't. Like it's important that you just hold everyone accountable.
Yeah. I think the difference from my, minuscule perspective in my athletic career was the difference between like there were the coaches that would yell and yell and yell and yell and yell, and it was only when you win championship. Like that was the only time it was like, all right, we're taking our foot off the gas. Good job, guys.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But the difference is the encouraging the habits to like, I think from a broader perspective, like for me, having coached so many people, it's like, it's those little things like that make the big outcome. And if you only focus on the outcome, like you're just going to be treading water for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And if the outcome doesn't come,
yeah, totally.
It's just not very fun.
No, but you're like, I think you,
I mean, you know a lot more about coaching than I do. Like you kind of get where I'm going with the whole, like, if you teach something and do it right, like it's important that it's emphasized.
Yeah, reinforced. But also one of the things I've learned over the years as a coach is to be, I deal with people like they're paying me to coach them for stuff like they're not trying to go professional.
Sure.
I have a couple of those people, but very few. And so there's a little bit of a line of like, well, what are we doing this for? And so I've tended to be like realign their goals or like kind of be softer on them to say, hey, like that's okay. Like we don't need to. But as over the years, it's not that I'm necessarily harder, but I think I'm more stringent on the what you were talking about, like being strict but encouraging at the same time to try and help them along and not just like throw it all to the wind because I'm not sure that they actually want it. So again, it's a little bit of a different situation whether it's a by choice thing, but I have learned that over the years that let's get down. You actually do want to do this. It's just hard. So
and like you kind of have to create a relationship with them too.
yeah,
Like as far as like coaches that I've had that just yell, 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 and then after practice they're gone. Like like they don't care about your personal life. Like they don't want you to know anything about them. It's like strictly business.
Yeah.
Like as far as the team goes, that's never worked well.
Yeah.
Never at all, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't. Garrison's had some really good coaches, luckily, and they really care. Like you can tell that more than anything, more than their coaching style or anything else. Like when their care shows through, that seemed to mean a lot to him and to us, where we have a lot more buy-in and trust, knowing that at the end of the day, like the mission's still the mission, and what they're trying to achieve is like that's really clear.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the delivery isn't like it's not perfect, but and again, I know that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and as a coach, like I don't get it right all the time for sure, but what I hope shines through is like I genuinely care, and so again, sometimes it doesn't always the delivery's wrong, but the outcome is like what I'm hoping for. So.
Absolutely, and you kind of have to have bad experiences with coaches to appreciate the good ones.
Yeah,
like you kind of have to have a bad coach to appreciate the good coaches.
Yeah, and you have to be a bad coach to recognize what works. And again, hopefully that learning curve is short, but as a parent, like I've learned that too. Like I don't know, like you can get advice from your parents. Now you have books and online and whatever else, but as a parent, you got to kind of find your way in that too, and find that balance between letting them know you care, but also being disciplined, or having them have discipline and be strict, but letting them know you care at the same time. So
and just setting a good example.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I've had you here for about 40 minutes, and I don't know, anything else? Like again, your perspective is a very valuable one. We have such a big youth athletic community here. We have a whole bunch of youth athletes at our gym. We have a bunch of parents. Like from your perspective, like anything else that's other than what you shared?
I mean, really, the biggest thing as far as I'll tell you what, as far as like getting recruited, I'm sure that there's some kids that want to talk about that.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about getting recruited is you have to have good grades. Like that gets overlooked a ton, just because it opens up a lot more opportunities for you.
Yeah.
Like you can get a full ride scholarship because you're actually only at 50% due to the scholarships that you receive from the school.
Yeah.
So that opens up a lot more opportunities for you, as far as what teams look at you.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me is you got to go to like summer camps. You have to compete with others. Like, because around this area there's good competition, but like you have to go and find competition and see where you stack.
Sure.
Because I remember, let's see, in my junior year, it was really, I was like, I signed up for all these camps. Like I got some advice, so I was like, you gotta go to these camps, you gotta compete in front of these coaches. And so I just went like every school that I kind of like wanted to go to, I just signed up for their camp, went, and the competition I was facing was a lot better than the competition I ever faced in the season.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to kind of see where you stacked up.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, all my offers came from the camps afterwards.
Really?
I think that there was like maybe two that didn't, but a majority of them came from camps.
Interesting.
So that's a big one too that I tell guys, especially from Sandpoint, is like it's important to see where you stack up to the rest of the world, or the rest of the country, because you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised at how good you actually are. And that's kind of my thing on the whole recruiting thing. Good grades and make sure you get yourself out there.
Yeah, cool. Were there experiences in that where you felt like you weren't good enough? Like, did you face that too? Like where you got exposed to different things? You're like, holy crap! Like there's a lot of other great guys out there.
Yeah, sure, definitely. But I also think that it was more the fact that it kind of instilled some more confidence in me. Like I'm from a small town, but I'm good. Like I'm a good football player.
Yeah.
I'm a good basketball player. Like whatever you are, like I think it's important to kind of go see where you stack up against everyone else.
Yeah. Going back to like, you're not going to be the hero, and that's okay. Like they expect that. Like you're not going to be the best guy necessarily. You might, but I think kids probably get scared, like, or intimidated, or was there any intimidation by going to face other people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something you have to work out too, because when you start playing good teams together as well, like,
Yeah.
you just have to go out there and compete.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I see that as adults, with adults as well, where the fear of being exposed prevents them from growth opportunities.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. And that's not a good thing.
no, it's not. Again, as adults, like, I see full grown, mature adults, and they're like, I don't want to do that because I'm scared. Well, maybe that's what you need then. Like, maybe getting over that fear and realizing that it's not that big a deal is going to unlock a lot of doors for you in the future.
Yeah, I think a majority of the time you surprise yourself.
Totally.
Like, oh, I can do this. This isn't as bad as I made it sound in my head.
Yeah. Or you don't, and it's also not that big a deal.
And you're like, wow, I got. But then you have a goal to work towards. Like, you're like, now I know what I need to be.
Yep.
Or I need to do. Like, I think it's important.
Yeah.
You can't just live in a bubble your whole life.
No, agreed. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, man. Well, thanks a ton for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, all the best of luck, and I'm excited to see where you go and whatever you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Regardless of your passion, because you got a lot of doors open for you right now,
Yeah.
which is sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, man. See you later.